Hello, welcome to Jessica Payne Live. I'm Jessica Payne, your host, literally taking my first drink of caffeine live on camera. Welcome, come on, sit down. If you're watching me live, hello, welcome, sit down. Thanks for joining me week after week, I appreciate. We are coming up almost, I think, a week away from my year anniversary of officially naming this show and doing it every week. So thank you. I have folks that have stuck with me throughout. And then if you're watching me on the replay or maybe listening to me over on the podcast, watching me on YouTube, thank you. Please like, subscribe, share, do whatever you can to spread the love of this show. Today, we're going to talk about how to use emotion when trying to connect and engage on social media. If you're running into some roadblocks, maybe you're not engaging with folks, chances are you might be missing a key piece, which is emotion. I tell you to be authentic. That word can be a bit frustrating if we don't put meaning behind it. So emotion is a very powerful tool in terms of trying to make your content more authentic. What we're trying to do is create an emotional connection, and that's often the easiest and the quickest thing you can do when trying to grab people's attention on social media. So that's the theme of today, how to leverage the power of emotion to engage on social. Come on in, sit down. Who do we have here? Hey, Teresa, how are you? I have to be through at least half before I feel human. Enjoy it. Oh, I assume we're talking about caffeine. Yes, we've talked about this. Today it's tea. God forbid I'm out of coffee at the studio, so I need to get more. Teresa, thanks for joining me. Teresa, everyone, is a rock star. She's doing amazing things on social media. Follow her to see how she's using it. Another amazing rock star, RJ Redden. How you doing, RJ? I just saw my notification, your latest podcast is out. It's literally on my phone every time it goes live. Why is the time to start with bots? I think that was the theme. If you guys are interested in chat bots, give RJ a shout out. Who else do we have here? I don't know if we've met. She said brand, not band. I like that. Did I say band or did someone else say? Let's say band. Let's say, let's bring music into it. I love it. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Who else do we have? Oh, I know this one very well. Jamie Johnson Hunter. She says, oh, can't wait to find out how I can use emotion when promoting the band. Yes. Oh, now I know. You're bringing in your cohorts. Yes, for a rock band, you can use social media, and you have been doing it. This should be interesting. You're awesome, Jess. Thanks. Thank you. I love all these little shout outs today. And we've got John Biev, yes, with the hearts. Amazing. I've got my tribe here. This makes me happy. So today we're talking about using emotion in social media. One of the things that RJ, quick shout out to you, I believe you shared first was how, like, this whole idea of we can market our business, our brand, or our band without being pushy. I think that's what this really all comes down to, is like, let's not be annoying. Let's use social media for what it's used, what it was originally designed to do, which is to be social, make connections. I have a 5-step process you guys might or might know about. I'll link to it today. I have that in a mid-year checklist. So if you're struggling with social media, I'm going to put a link today in the comments. You can ask a series of 10 questions, literally to see where you're at on social media. That might be a first step you want to take before jumping into emotion. And then that'll link to my 5 steps. But I bring up my 5 steps because the first of those 5 steps is authenticity. And the 5 steps are how to inspire action on social media. And I always start you with authenticity because, quite frankly, if you feel like you're being too salesy or too pushy, which frankly turns all of us off on marketing, we'd rather just be doing our thing, working our magic, owning our craft, or creating what we're creating. We don't want to be, we have to market our business, and it can be pretty painful, but chances are it's because there's a disconnect. It's not enjoyable, probably because we feel outside of ourselves. It's not authentic for us to be salesy or pushy. That being said, I think every single one of us can easily market our brand or our business the more authentic we are. So you've also heard me use the word storytelling, and it's a buzzword right now, but essentially, if you lean into who you are, tell your story, you're actually marketing your business, and it's way less pushy. The last thing I want to do is be annoying and be salesy. That's why I do what I do, and I'm not in advertising. Make sense? So let's dive into emotion and why emotion is important. The most powerful thing you can do to market your brand, whether it's your the company you work for, your personal brand, or your business, maybe you're an entrepreneur, is to bring your lived experience into it. If you have a story that explains why you're doing the thing, why you decided to build your business, invent your product, make a career change. That provides the context that actually inspires other people to do the same thing. If you think about it, as humans, we're trying to connect. We're so hungry to connect with other people, not necessarily people who are exactly like us, but people who have a shared lived experience. And just think about the last product you bought. It was probably referred to you by a friend. You trust that friend. And of course, we always like to kind of do our homework. I always like to ask at least like 5 people if I'm thinking about a product. And if it's recommended to me by someone I trust, chances are it's because I have an emotional connection with that person. I've seen them use that product and bam, it's like I'm hooked. You don't have to sell me anymore. It was never pushy. It was because it was real and true and authentic. So let's talk about emotion in terms of maybe how you might be struggling with it with social media. The first thing you might have noticed is like, oh, hey, nobody's engaging with my content. I worked really hard on that blog post, or I really thought those social media posts were like amazing. How come no one's engaging? It's probably because you're missing your opportunity to create some sort of shared experience or highlight the why. Here are a couple of old school tactics that I want you to stop doing right now. The first thing is you might be relying solely on negative or fear-based messaging. This is like way old school advertising, and this is different than a 24-hour sale. That feeling of scarcity, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is fear, toxic, playing on what frightens us as humans to force people to buy. You don't see that as much anymore, but you certainly do see it. If you're using any sort of fear-based or negative emotion in your social media, people are not going to engage in that. There's enough of that on social media. Don't be one of those people. Raise your hand, your virtual hand, or comment if you've seen some of this. Some of the, you see a lot of this obviously in politics. Let's put that aside. You see this sometimes in certain industries like security or tech, but sometimes I see it in like consumer, and I just think, or even entrepreneurs using this fear or negative based, they're almost telling you what you have to do or else. If you have any of that type of content, stop doing it, because data has shown that positive emotion, it doesn't mean you have to lie. Like if you work in mental health, or maybe you work with abuse, or you work with a very serious subject matter, it doesn't mean you have to be like over the moon, musical, happy and cheery. But if you can try to shift that into having some sort of a pragmatic or positive outcome, or pointing people to the potential benefits of working with you, people are going to respond, because at the end of the day, we just want a solution, right? We just want help. Oh, I got some comments. RJ saying, get rid of fear-based marketing. It sucks. RJ, for sure. I knew you were going to chime in on this. RJ and I have talked about old school marketing before. Again, what's like more invasive or shocking or annoying than someone immediately, maybe you've never met, a brand on social media, or you used to see these in sort of infomercials. They're screaming in your face and they're using negative emotion. It's like, how quickly would you change the channel back in the day? Or you just keep scrolling. That's the thing. Love it. Franco's saying hello. Franco squared. RJ, isn't that what you call Franco? Thanks for joining, Franco. Appreciate it. Teresa's saying, I struggle with this. I put out content daily and I get little to nothing in terms of feedback. Now, I know for a fact you're not using fear or negative based. I think, Teresa, you represent a perfect example of someone who's just starting out in social media. Let me tell you this too. You don't have to get it right off the bat. It's going to take you a while to find your footing. It's also going to take time for you to find your following. What I have learned is that the sooner you can get feedback from your followers, and you can start to sort of mold the content to suit their needs, there are surprises around every corner, I feel. That's why I'm always asking you questions like about my content, what you want to hear. At the end of the day, I want to make sure this page caters to you and your interest. And you've shared with me stuff that I was like, that was not even on my radar. For example, visibility, I know. A couple of you came to me and said that was really powerful. Can we talk about it? Storytelling, but diving deeper. And I was like, you know what? I've actually never thought about that. So Teresa, here's a tip for you. Reach out to your followers and ask them what they might be interested in. Take a look at people, especially on Instagram, because I know you're on there. Take a look at people that use similar hashtags, see what they're talking about, and see if you can if you have the experience or you can speak to a similar sort of focus area based on your lived experience. There might be things other people are talking about that you're like, this is not in my wheelhouse. But take a look at what other people are doing, not to steal their ideas, but to get inspiration from maybe what people further down the road who have had success with you might be having. How are they succeeding connecting emotionally with people? You might get some content ideas. Yeah. But don't stress, because, you know, if you're just out the gate, you're a couple months into your social media strategy, heck, even if you're like a year, 2 years into your social media strategy, it's constantly changing. That's the whole thing. It's constantly changing and evolving. Love that. I put together a format finally for my bot. RJ is awesome. Bots, you guys. We'll have RJ back on. I had her on. RJ, when were you on? A couple weeks ago talking about bots. Bots are not going away. I love them. They're sort of my new favorite tool. If you want to see how a bot works, go to my website, jessicapayne.us. You'll see my little chat bot greeting you on my website. It's probably not what you think. I'll leave it there, but I'll put a link in the comments. All right, what else can we talk about in terms of emotion? How's it going, Evelyn? Thanks for joining. We're talking about emotion, how to engage more on social media. If you are struggling to actually connect with folks, you're like, why? That was a damn good blog post, or my social media is amazing. How come no one's engaging? You might be missing your opportunity to use emotion based on your lived experience. Look at this. RJ puts my website up. She's got me. So this experience right here is this is a great example of how like communities and tribes really do help each other. If you're hungry to create, to get more help and support, pay it forward. Go find your tribe on social media like this. Go to their pages, watch their shows, and help them out, because then they pay it back in spades. Like RJ's putting my website up for me. Love you, RJ. Thanks, dude. Boom. Even the longer version, love it. Teresa, one more. I feel like my industry is broad and has a broad set of views. And that's maybe why, maybe I just need to be louder. Haha, if you can imagine that. Okay. That's a natural urge, is to be louder. I'm gonna invite you to rephrase that. You don't necessarily need to be louder, because nobody likes a screamer. Imagine if you walked into a cocktail party, you joined a group of random strangers, and you were like, you know, starting to scream about your business. People would pretty much disappear as soon as possible. Instead of being louder, because when I hear louder, I'm hearing you, and I know you're not feeling heard. So in terms of what you could be doing is, maybe instead of being louder, hit pause on the content creation side and dial up your listening. Spend the next few days on social media on all of your channels, and rather than post, maybe just go around and listen. Go listen, follow, comment on other people in the same world or in the same realm as you, with the strategy to make new genuine connections, study what they're doing, and take notes. That is going to inform the next round of content that you put out. And I have a feeling that it's going to resonate that much more with people. Yeah, sometimes we definitely get this urge, and I'm so glad you brought that up. In social media, they're like, it's not working, I'm just going to dial it up. Sometimes you have to dial it back and just listen. I think in a lot of things we do, when it comes to like our own physical health, we're like, oh, I think I might have strained my right ankle. I think I'm going to just keep running. No, chances are you listen to your body. You might go get it checked out. You do your homework so that the next time you go out and you run, you're performing better, right? Same that goes with social media. Cool beans? So there, I put you on the spot, Teresa. But anyone who might be feeling frustrated with not connecting with social media, and you have that urge to be louder, try listening instead. Yeah, it's about quality, not quantity in social media, right? Franco, this is such a good one. I heard someone's fake crying for emotion on a stream. Sorry, just had to drop this in. What do you mean? Can you provide a little bit more context, Franco? Fake crying for emotion. Well, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't think anyone in this group, I trust that nobody in this group right now is going to be lying. The last thing you want to do is use fake emotion. People are going to see right through that, unless you're like Helen Mirren or like an Academy Award winning actor. Like, we all know when you guys are lying. I've never seen that, but that is interesting. I think, you know what? People are going to try anything right now on social media. The beautiful thing is, as humans, we know what we're looking at 99% of the time. Franco, that's terrible. Nobody here ever fake cry. I've also seen people actually genuinely share some deep emotion, and those are powerful videos. I mean, when you know someone is vulnerable and sharing something extremely personal, it's like some of the most meaningful lives that I haven't been able to take myself away from, or social media posts, are those. It's incredible. Yes, fake crying. Oh my God. RJ's saying that's a new low. RJ, we got to find this person. I'm kidding. Sadly, if that's what they think they have to lean on, they might get some success out the gate. I don't really know what the benefits are of doing that, of using fake emotion. They're going to be found out, I feel. All right, how about we go tip number 2. Again, if you are just tuning in, we're talking about emotion. Here are some old strategies we want to get rid of. Here's some new ones. If you're struggling to engage on social, it's probably having to do with this first step in the 5-step process, authenticity. And smack dab in the middle of that is emotion. So the first one is you might be relying on negative or fear-based emotion. We're no longer doing that. I think everyone promises here not to do that. The second thing is your choice of video or images, your visual posts, might not accurately reflect your audience. I've seen this too. I've seen here's a classic case. I've seen female entrepreneurs, they're on places like Pinterest and Instagram, who work primarily with women, and they're using the same sort of masculine, loud, shouty quote theme and tone that you see from people like Tony Robbins. It's just completely off. And I have a feeling that they're probably just trying to use something that works for millions of people. It works for Tony Robbins because he's got that lion sort of king, you know, that CEO archetype. But you dive deeper into this sort of female entrepreneur, and she's like a life coach, and it's like it doesn't match her personality at all. And you can see her social media posts might get a few likes, but there's never any comments. That's another thing you can take a look at. And if you take a look at who likes her comments, it's typically the people who like Tony Robbins. So my advice to her or anyone like that would be, rather than just try to copy leaders in your industry, you have to make it personal. So if that doesn't match your personal brand, your audience, if you work primarily with seniors, then you shouldn't be marketing yourself exactly like a millennial, right? Or a tech startup. It's probably going to be different. If you work primarily with women and you're marketing yourself or your business, you know, in a way that genuinely attracts maybe more sort of male entrepreneurs in your, you know, sort of a Wall Street type archetype, like, you are disconnecting for a reason. Now, when you flip that and you start to really dial it in, when you start to understand your personal brand, that's really when you start to see it take off. One of the things I've noticed is a lot of people I work with are women, and I've shifted slowly over the last year or so, specifically talking more about things like visibility, being a woman in business, and those shows and those posts always outperform the other. So that's informing me that, yeah, you guys really actually care about this content. I have the opportunity to, again, share my lived experience as a woman with you. Another example is I've been talking more about being queer in the LGBT community. And every time I talk about that now, that always resonates. So my tip is take a look at your videos and your images. Maybe they're off. Maybe your business has evolved. So that it might have been authentic and true when you first started, but businesses evolve all the time. So take a look at your choice in terms of images and video. Here's another tip. Have more humans in your visuals, whether that's you, your family, your colleagues, where you work. Animals and babies help too. If it's just your product, that's great, but you show people using your product. We want to see humans. We don't necessarily want to see, and that's something people fall down the rabbit hole. They'll just have these beautiful pictures of flat lays or video monitors or whatever. Think about more what you want to see when you go on social media. Put a human in it. Does that resonate? Let me know, you guys. Have you noticed a disconnect? Have you shifted your content strategy, keeping in mind your audience? One of the biggest challenges I hear from businesses is they forget that their audience evolves. When they evolve their business model, they forget that they need to change their social media strategy to actually match that. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I work only with women now. Like I should really reflect that across all of my website shows that, but my social media is still saying the same exact thing. Don't forget that step. Let me know, you guys. We did a show a couple weeks ago, Finding Your Niche. I want to say about a month ago. Yeah, there's a huge opportunity to do that. Go vertical. Find your lane and really, really own it. First thing you can do is take a look at your audience. Here's a tip. If you're struggling to like know who your audience is and you're on Facebook, Facebook Insights is one of the best places you can find little kernels of knowledge in terms of not just how your content is performing. You can look over any period of time how your posts perform, engagement, reach. You can look at demographics. You can look, here's a question right now. Do you know what your demographics are? I know mine are about 85% women. Like you should know that offhand, especially on places like Facebook. Other channels, it's a little harder to find that demographic information, but always know your male-female demographic. Always know your age demographic. So for me, I know my sweet spot is kind of in that 24 to 45 skewing higher. If you don't know that, after this show, go to your insights and take a look. That's going to inform who your audience is right now. And then you can take a look at who's engaging. There might be surprises there. All right, what's another tip? Third tip. Again, using emotions to engage more. Oh, here's a little tip. Using positive emotions like humor, awe, surprise, and delight, showing a positive result before and after. Think about all the stuff that you watch on social media and you watch all the way through or you read all the way through. You see typically a positive change or a positive result, right? Because we're hungry for it. That engages 3 times higher than negative content on social media. There you go. Again, you don't have to be like overly cheery or fake, but positive emotion is what you want to do. All right, here's the third tip. And here's something that I do. We all do it. You jump into social media, it's like the last thing on your to-do list. You're like, I got to do it. I'm going to write my 3 posts this week. And maybe all 3 posts are only about your product or your service. This is the easiest mistake to make. We all do it, and that's okay. But once you realize you're doing it, it's the easiest one to fix, I feel. So if 100% of your posts are about you or your product or your service, that's going to turn people off. The first thing you can do is take a look again at what your colleagues and peers and maybe even competitors are doing in the space. The brands that are more successful have a combination of both sort of self-serving content and then those that provide, insights. So one thing you could do is share 1 article a week. It's pretty easy. Or retweet or share or tag people in an article or something, or share another post from another influencer in 1 week. You have to pay it forward. And the more balanced you are, the more you're going to get noticed. Tagging and sharing also helps because the person that you're sharing immediately notices what you're doing and they're going to follow you or they're going to share you. It happens all the time. Twitter is a great place to practice doing this. It's especially power on places like Instagram where being discovered, brand discoverability is typically more difficult because unless you follow someone on Instagram or follow their hashtag, you're never going to really see them unless you're like a celebrity. So again, if 100% of your content is just about you or your product or your service, round it out. The first thing you can do is share an article. People love data, new studies. Jump on Twitter. You'll find an article in like a minute. Twitter is great for finding articles. Do a Google search and share that link. I like sharing from social media because then you include the person and so you've tagged them and they're going to see it. You're probably going to get a couple of new follows and maybe even a couple of retweets or shares after that. Balance out your content. It also shows that you are a member of the community, that you are truly participating, that you're not here just to serve yourself. You're here to actually raise the bar in terms of the dialogue. And people, what that does, it ticks the sort of resource thought leadership box. This is something we use for my clients' social media strategy. If people trust you as a resource to go to, they're definitely going to follow you and they're going to start to share your stuff. and you've earned that trust. Trust is like one of the most powerful rewards and results of connecting with emotion. That's really what today's show is all about. People trust you. They're going to engage with your content. They might not buy your stuff or subscribe straight away, but they'll know who you are and share your content, which can be equally powerful. And chances are they will come back and at the very least be an advocate for you, right? Cool. Teresa's saying, I use my page to share content from other people who I agree with. Love it. I think that's the easiest thing we can do. The beautiful thing is, like, if I see a post or a tweet, I'm like, that's way better than I could ever write it. I'm just going to share it. It benefits everybody. Makes me look smarter, gives you insights you can use, tips, and it gives the other person a leg up. Paying it forward, pushing other people forward is like the best strategy you can use right now. People are saying it's sort of the secret sauce to social media, and it's hilarious because it's like probably the most obvious thing we can do. But we sometimes get hyper-focused on just trying to promote ourselves, which is totally normal. Don't forget, one of the easiest things you can do to actually promote yourself as a thought leader, as a genuine person of interest, and someone who really supports what they do, someone they can trust, is push other people forward. It's great. Do it authentically, though. Don't like retweet 20 people in an hour. That's pretty obvious. Or like every person on Instagram. People are going to know that you're doing that for a not authentic reason. Catherine's saying hello. How you doing, Catherine? We're talking about emotion, talking about authenticity. Guys, I'm going to put a link to I talked about it last week, my social media checklist. It's a 20-minute exercise. It's 10 questions. It's on my blog. You don't have to download anything. I'll link to it here. Click on it, take it. It's like your mid-year social media wellness quiz. And it asks 10 questions. Take 20 minutes to really go through it. Put your social media hat on. It's probably the only 20 minutes you have for social media this week. Now is the time to just kind of assess where you're at on social media. Take this quick quiz, write down whatever comes to mind, and I guarantee you're going to have a little bit more clarity on what you want to tackle for the rest of the year, because we might be going into September, which is frightening. There's plenty of opportunity for you to just smoke it in terms of your social media strategy and really like achieve awesome results. We have plenty of time this year. People are talking about 2019. It's still 2018. Like, let's still rock and roll this year. And the first thing you can do is take a look at your content. How's that sound? If I've got the link, I'll actually put it right here. Just promise me you won't jump away. Let me grab that for you. So we're talking about emotion. Anyone out there have something they want to share in terms of like emotion you've seen work? Think about your favorite brands or your favorite influencers. There's probably an identifiable emotion or tone that's always with their posts. Personally, I like people who are cheeky or a little snarky, people who are really witty on the internet using that sort of Twitter shade, not in a mean way, but people who are really witty. That always gets my attention. And when I see brands using that type of humor, I'm like, that to me tells me there's someone smarter on the social media team, and that typically wins me over. I love it. So I like humor. I like cheeky. I like, obviously, I'm the same person watching all of those dog rescue videos. Talk about emotion. I will watch those all the way through, before and after, puppies and babies. There's a reason why they are constantly the most watched all the way through videos. Guys, here's my social media quiz. I'm putting it in the comments right now. You'll love it. Take 20 minutes. I created it basically because I had to do the same thing. It was like, it's getting mid-year. Oh my God, we're going into September. So I sat down, I designed this quiz as I took it, and it helped me align my ship. And basically, there's nothing cooler than feeling a little bit more aligned and having a roadmap. Roadmap is the #1 request I get from people. I need a roadmap. So there you go. Start with this quiz. Assess, see where you're at, take the quiz. And if you look in that blog post, there is a link to my 5 steps if you don't have that already, which is what this whole thing is all about. And let me know if you've taken it. I know a few of you have taken it already. Has it helped? Let me know. Do I need to go deeper into a certain area? Tell me. Teresa says, I love the survey you shared. You inspired me to create something similar. Yay. That's all I want to know. If I inspire one person, my job is done. I'm glad, Teresa. Perfect. You inspired me to create something similar. Yes. So that's an example. My quiz is a piece of content. One could say it's promotional, but it's coming from a place of, hey, use it. So there's an example too. If you're like, well, I'm sharing articles, I'm sharing other people, I'm promoting my product, what else can I do? Create content that helps people where they're at. So I know that just based on my experience here and what you've told me, you're like, I need a roadmap. I don't even know where I'm at. That informed me to create that piece of content. So I know it's automatically relevant. So when you go to create something, again, rather than go out the gate, maybe ask around, ask your community what they want. People will tell you. People like to give opinions. People like to give thoughts. I love asking questions. Speaking of, what else can I talk about here? I'm going to make a point to ask that every week. Am I missing something? Is there something that's keeping you up at night with social media? Are you hitting a major roadblock? What do we need to talk about here? For those of you that are a little new to this page, because I think I see some new faces, we mostly talk about social media strategy. We also talk about brand, personal brand. I bring in my lived experience as someone who worked in corporate America with big brands. Now I work with nonprofits, causes, small to medium-sized businesses. I talk about life as a woman business owner, visibility. I bring in my own personal life as well, being a creator, being in the queer community. What else can we connect about? What matters to you? How can I help you put purpose behind everything you do on social media so that you're wasting less time and getting better results? That's the purpose. That's the spiel. That's the purpose of this page right here. Catherine is saying, perfect topic for me. I'm reading Mark Schaefer's Social Media Explained. He is also stressing the authentic helpfulness building trust. Yes. It is hard at first to shift from sell to help, even though it is my nature to totally be helpful. The copy in my head is so businessy, conditioned from decades of sales. Exactly. So Catherine, I bet you could school us on the old ways of sales, and that's got to be a major shift. It's almost like, especially if sales has been your career or smack dab in the middle of who you are, that's got to be a major shift. It's almost like you're changing your lifestyle, how you're communicating. So don't be surprised, you guys, if you're struggling a little bit, because social media has changed, and basically the old way we used to communicate is no longer resonating. So if you're feeling those growing pains, everybody is. Don't stress. If anything, there's a little less responsibility on our shoulders to get things perfect. People just want to see real, authentic, true stories. Start with your reason, especially if you run your own business or you are the face of your brand. You should be leading with your story and your why and coming from a place of true emotion, trying to make that connection. If you represent another brand, you can still come from a place of emotion. You can still get to the root of why your company was created or your product was created, the people it helps. You can still make that at the very center of your story. Teresa's saying, yes, Catherine, I am right with you. Guys, we're talking about emotion here on today's show. We're talking about, again, if you are running into challenges, engaging with people on social media, maybe you've outgrown your social media strategy, maybe you've been using the wrong negative or fear-based emotion, maybe your choices of videos or images or visuals is a little off or not resonating with your audience, or maybe you've been posting 100%, maybe too much about who you are and not paying it forward in terms of your community. Those are 3 tips in terms of trying to make that adjustment, bringing more authentic emotion in your content. So next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. I'm basically moving you through kind of the 5 steps of how to inspire action on social. So I'm going deep in each of these 5. Today was about emotion. I'll have a new topic next week to move you through as well. And again, I'm always trying to make this just turnkey. You guys have businesses to run. You have practices, services to sell. You have companies that you work for. So thanks as always for taking the time week after week to spend it here with me. If there's a topic you want me to cover that is or isn't maybe related, please let me know. This is your page, this is your channel, this is your content, and I would rather know that I'm hitting every single one of your requests. I received a few last week, so I'll be making some tweaks there. Let me read a few of these and then I'll let you go, to be honest. I always try to keep these shows half hour, but we're on a roll, so maybe a few minutes late today. And then I always switch over to Instagram to give a quick highlights If you don't follow me on Instagram, you should. If you have any interest in what I'm doing there on IGTV especially, I have an IGTV channel especially for queer creators and their allies. Very similar to this content, but specifically serving that channel, and I've gotten a lot of interest on it. So I'll put the link in the handles too. Teresa's saying, see, when I started, I was coming from the mindset of people told by my industry to downplay my story because it would scare people off. It was still a huge struggle. Yeah, Teresa, ignore those people. They don't know what they're talking about. It makes zero sense to me when, like, I have no idea why anyone would ever tell anyone else to play down their story. It just makes zero sense to me. It probably is coming from a place of maybe they're projecting their fears or their judgment of your story and trying to debate you out of it. It just makes, it's like speaking another language to me. So I'm going to tell you, ignore those people. The most powerful thing you could do right now on social media is be yourself. So go for it. I'm like, give me their number. Let me give them a call. Catherine is saying, I represented an emotion company for years, and it was all emotion. To reach in, dig deep, and inspire, trying to apply all that to myself and make it about others. And I keep going, me, doing it right now, ha. It's so much easier to help other people. And then the minute we have to like market our business, we're like, wait, I run into this too. Yeah, it's sort of like, you already kind of know, think about what you teach other people and implement those same strategies. I have to tell myself to do this every day. It's harder when we have to promote ourselves because I think a lot of us don't, it's not a comfortable space, maybe how we were raised or it's just who we are. It's like, I wasn't raised to toot my own horn. You know, I think I was raised to be humble. And so marketing in any concept is slightly out of our comfort zone, right? So even think, you might even be less me than you think, but just knowing how sensitive we are to that, yeah. Keep going, keep trying. The fact that you're aware of it, Catherine, I think is everything. Yeah, what do I always say? Clarity is empowerment. And I say that a lot to remind myself. Cool beans, you guys. I'm gonna wrap it up. Any other questions in terms of emotion? Let me know here. We can hang on a couple more minutes. Otherwise, you guys, again, take that social media wellness quiz. That's the first thing I recommend you do. We have some kind of some deep questions. It's really to get you just to sit with it and think. You can, write it. And I honestly encourage you to actually write down your answers, let it sit. Use that as your framework going forward. Because the first question I get after this is like, well, where do I start? That can help kind of ideally help other answers bubble up for you if you're struggling with social media. Catherine is saying, yes, conditioning. I think that's what Teresa has had as well. Most of us probably. You're welcome, Catherine. I appreciate you dropping by. So everyone, unless you have any questions, I'm going to let you go. Jumping over to Instagram right now. Thanks for watching Jessica Payne Live as well. Like, subscribe, share, follow, tag. Please follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to get more of a following there. I'm excited to play around on that area. I'm also on Twitter, which a lot of people don't realize. That's a whole other world in terms of you can see even more about what I talk about. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Take the quiz. Let me know what you think about it. And again, I'll be back next week, every Tuesday, with another episode of Jessica Payne Live. Other than that, good luck. Use that emotion. Use positive emotion. And let me know this time next week if there were any breakthroughs. Cool beans, you guys? All right, have a great week. I'll see you soon.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.